Alright, welcome back to Let's Talk Cycling with Almost Elite. Today we've got our very own Almost Elite Innocent Msomi joining us to talk about his weight loss journey. And I mean, what a journey it's been.
Yeah.
I've witnessed this with my own two eyes, and I think a lot of you that know personally would have seen the drastic improvement that he has undertaken. So just as an intro, tell us about yourself and tell us what kind of rider you are, as well as if there's any cyclists that you look up to.
Thanks for having me on my show. Anyway, I've been cycling for just to give a brief history of the matter. I think early 2019, if I recall. So it's just under 4 years that I've been cycling. And that's when I started my cycling, and then I was the rider that I wanted to have a continuous improvement in this thing, and even today I still have tremendous room to improve. And then I came to that conclusion that one of the things that I need to really work on is my weight loss to help me with that continuous improvement. Initially I was very good at the sprinting. I think I had a lot of muscle on board together with the fat, that helped me, to propel and have good sprints on those flats. And I think after the weight loss, I can still do a bit of that, but I think it's more of something that I'm working on to constantly improve. I'm more interested in the technique now of sprinting. And I think I've also, come to climb a lot better, and also my endurance on those long rides, like being able to stick up with the bunch is also something that I'm doing a lot better. So I think in summary, I am a sprinter. My ability to sprint will vary from time to time, depending on the season, depending on the weight, etc. Because I think sprinting is quite heavily dependent on weight. I think the likes of Mark Cavendish, the likes of Caleb Ewan, and the likes of Nolan Hoffman, some of the guys that I do look up to, and I think they tend to be the heavier guys in the bunch.
Yes.
And that's true. And those are some of the guys that I look up to at an international level. I do look up to my fellow colleagues. I'm not being biased. But I think there's good talent locally. If you look at the likes of Vini, I think Vini is a good rider.
Strong.
I think I also look up to Tando Zote. We rode with him just the other day. Powerful rider. Powerful rider. And definitely. I think Tsepiso is also a very good rider. I think that he's very, very tactful.
Yes.
And I think that's quite important in cycling, is to be very careful about how you spend the power that you have.
True. Okay. So man, so tell us, how much did you weigh before? Maybe let's start there.
I think when I started this journey, I was sitting at exactly 98 kilograms. I remember going into the bathroom at the gym, and that was my rock bottom. I may call it. And I thought, that's when this can't be healthy. And I think, and then coming down now to around about 83. So you're looking at around about 15 kilograms of weight loss in a very short space of time. I think it was all achieved in around 6-7 months. It was quite an aggressive weight loss period there.
And what motivated that sudden need to lose so much weight in a short space of time?
I think the classic power to weight ratio in cycling. If you look at the mechanics of it, that the performance in cycling is basically comparing how much power you can deploy and the burden of the weight that you have to carry with that power. And I think that at some point I come to realize that there's almost so much power I can give out, and there's so much opportunity for me to lose that weight, but particularly on the climbs. I think the key thing for me is that when I was riding in a bunch, I would really battle on the climbs, and I think that's where the gravity really slows you down and pulls you back. And when you look around the bunch, you realize that, hang on, I'm the biggest guy. So it's very easy to see where the problem is. That no, it must be a weight issue. And I think that was the thing for me, is that I wanted to improve my cycling, and it was quite evident for me that the weight is holding me back.
Okay. So how exactly did you do it? Because I mean, you said you went on the scale. From that point, how exactly did you achieve, this drastic weight loss?
Yeah, the approach that I took was the intermittent fasting. It was a very difficult approach, given that cycling requires you to eat, and you need those calories that you burn on the bike. So in intermittent fasting, I went down to strictly 2 meals a day. So I would have a good fasting period, which I started at 12 hours. And then I slowly increased that to 13 hours and then 14 hours. And I think up to some point I was hitting 18 hours a day. And that 18 hours being my window of no eating. But obviously I took the fluids. I would have my water, I would have my black coffee, no sugar. And I enjoy my sparkling water now and then. I would try that. So that was the one thing. But the other thing was that when I started eating, I made sure that I eat clean. And if you ask me what eating clean looks like, I would have your good fats, your avocados, I would have a good sausage, I would have a lot of eggs. Have a bit of cheese. So my diet had a lot of protein and very little carbs. In fact, at some point I had no carbs at all. So I was eating clean. I was having my nuts and all those, clean stuff. And then again, when I started eating, which was usually around 1 or 2 o'clock, I would eat, and then I would go quiet again until my last meal around 6 o'clock, which after that, nothing. So it was 2 meals a day, keeping my calories low and trying to eat clean. And I think my body started adapting in terms of how it processes food.
So is there anything else that you've tried? Because I mean, there's many methods that people use, like banting and so on. Is there any other weight loss methods that you've tried and maybe that didn't work for you?
I've tried various other methods. The first one I tried was intense cycling itself. Where you basically just continue with your diet as it is, and you just cycle for hours on end, and there was no results at all. And I think it goes down to the maths of calories in, calories out.
Really deficit.
Because I would go for a 4-hour ride and then sit for beers and burgers. And, So one of the approaches I tried was to focus on the training. And I think for me, I think some people also talk about the 80-20 rule, that weight loss is all about what happens in the kitchen and what goes into your tummy. And I think that's the other thing that I tried that didn't work, was just trying to go all out on the training and then going back to have a slice of cake
so ride a lot and eat a lot at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just stay there and
you justify it. You're like, I need the carbs, so you're like, you have to.
Yeah, but now you're not just having the carbs, you're having the junk as well.
So from a lot of people that obviously you got to being big because of your eating habits. So it's easy, I think, out there when people say no, just lose weight, and losing weight itself is such a hard thing. Like I always tell people, like just 2 kgs of fat is like a newborn baby. So you can understand, it's really not an easy thing. So for you, what are some of those things that were like really difficult to stop and to let go and to sort of cut from the diet?
And I think that's the key thing. I think it's important to be able to identify some of those foods that have induced or caused that big weight. And for me, I mean, I had a sweet tooth, and I still do. You know, I enjoyed a good slice of cake. You know, I enjoy desserts. You know, and I think that was a bit of a challenge. And also, you know, I enjoy my beer. I had to cut down on that. The beer, the alcohol is very key in terms of how food is processed in the body, and you know. I think there was a saying that the body will always prioritize the toxins in the form of alcohol. So once you cut that, you know, you might be better too. So it was the sweet stuff and beer, and I think that was the hardest thing. But again, the even more difficult thing as well was cutting down on the portions. You know,
that's also
quite a thing. I mean, I would enjoy a nice big pap and, you know, your typical braai plate. So now you gotta be careful, especially when you're touching carbs. You just a bit of that. So those were the things that were a little bit tough to cut down on. And I use the word cut down on because I think that's the key word, because I didn't want to start something that I cannot sustain.
That's very true.
Yeah, I don't want to say no more beer, but
that's
just
true.
Cut it, you know, have it on a Sunday or something like that.
So yeah, because I feel like you need to be sort of realistic with yourself, because if you're harsh, I'm not gonna eat anymore, I'm gonna close myself in a cupboard, and it's not gonna be, it's not sustainable. Come the following week, you're back stuffing your face. So I definitely get that. I definitely get that. So on the matter of the sort of trying to create that balance between weight loss and performance, right? So I remember there was one time during Easter, I was doing a whole 40-day fast, and I had nothing in the tank, and during that time, I think I got dropped the most. Every group ride, everything that sort of occurs, you get dropped because you're not fueling and you're not having the carbs. And at the same time, if you do have the carbs, you're feeling guilty that obviously it's counterproductive to your sort of weight loss strategy. So how do you find the balance of I'm losing weight, but at the same time I'm fueling for a workout or a group ride or a race?
No, good question. And I think it was, for me, it was something very difficult to balance because when, you know, cycling requires you to eat, you need that fuel, and most importantly, you need to take in those carbs so you can actually, you know, have that endurance needed in those long rides. And so what I then, I was doing a lot of zone 2 rides, if I may say, in that fasting period. And, you know, it helped in the sense that my body was consuming my fat to fuel the ride. But obviously, you know, I was unable to, you know, ride those hectic VO2 max or those sprints or those more aggressive type of cycling because of not eating. And I think cycling requires you to eat, and I think that was the big challenge. So for me, I gave myself a window, and I said, listen, for the next couple of months, my key focus is going to be the weight loss. It's okay if I get dropped, it's okay if I don't perform in a race, and I think it's a give and take.
Yes, no, true.
It's you know, it's not a good idea to be fasting and then going out to do a race. And the other thing, the other challenge that you actually feel, or that I felt as well, was that from cutting the food and from fasting and cutting the carbs, I lost a lot of power. You know, being a big guy, because one of the challenges with weight loss is it's all about what weight you're losing. You got to be careful with that, because in my time when I lost a bit of muscle as well, which is the good weight. And so I actually felt that I was feeling a lot weaker on the bike. But I just told myself that, okay, for now I'm gonna have to drop this weight drastically, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work on building up my power again, hopefully back to where it was. So yeah, that's the thing. It's difficult to balance both. I say you'd have to pick one and say, for this next 2 months, I'm going on a weight loss journey, and you know, and then that's how you go through.
So now at this point where you are you happy with the weight loss? Do you still want to go on another 10 kgs, 20 kgs? So what is the ideal weight that you want to land on?
Well, ideally, I would love to go just under 80 kilograms.
That's the goal.
It's a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think any competitive cyclist will probably, if you ask about the ideal weight, should be round about there. And anything more than that for me suggests that you've got a little literally extra weight on your shoulders that you need to overcome to beat the other guys. So for me, I would ideally love to just be under 80 kilograms, and I think right now I am trying. It's a little bit harder than it was before, because what happens is that when you cut your carbs, your body also lets go of a lot of water. So a lot of the weight loss comes from the water.
That initial year.
So because of the recent season that we came from, I was fueling. I mean, we had long rides, 300 kilometers at some point. So I was taking in a lot of carbs. And then, I would see literally my weight going from 80 to 84 within a week. And, and that's the water coming in. So hence I say it's important to be careful what weight you are dealing with. And I think I'm looking to invest in the more granular view of the weight. The likes of what's your fat percentage, how much water do you have on board, and how much fat do you And I think, so I don't have a lot of pressure. I do want to do it slowly by trying to eat clean. I still eat 2 meals a day. It's just that I'm not too strict now on my beer and that. But I think going under 80 kilograms would be ideal.
But I like what he's saying in terms of the fat percentage, because sometimes I think to your earlier point is that you might lose the weight only to find out now the muscle is suffering.
Exactly.
So it's cool to know, okay, my body fat percentage is at 24%, and I go check again and now it's at 20, it's at 19. So I know exactly what I'm losing. Is it water? Is it fat, or is it muscle? So to get that accurate view is cool. Definitely.
So I think, for me it's been very interesting to see Eno's weight loss.
Sure.
And it's very hard, I think, to see the amount of weight that you've lost if you live with the person, or you see a person on a regular basis, right? So he likes to put up this image of when I think you were doing a mashup.
Exactly, the same ride.
So
2 different weights.
So we did a mashova, I think, in 2019, if I recall correctly.
Just before lockdown. Yes,
2019 October, and to me it looked normal. Like it didn't.
I didn't look anything. Exactly.
Nobody told me, guys.
But then, if you look at on the other side of the spectrum, when we did a mashova last year, the weight loss and the 2 pictures, same person, 2 pictures is drastically different, right? So, what has been, how has the weight loss impacted your cycling now? Are you performing better? You're climbing better, as you mentioned.
That's actually
that was
true.
a weak point.
That's actually true.
I think, to summarize it, the short answer is that the weight loss has really, really helped me improve my cycling. I think after, in fact, as slowly as I was losing that weight, I could feel myself being able to climb a lot better. The performance was enhanced a lot because of that weight loss. And I think it makes you realize that much of cycling performance, we always say that the racing normally happens on a hill. That is where the guys will up the pace. That is where they'll separate the men from the boys.
Yes.
And so I find myself being able to sit longer with the men, if I can say. There's still tremendous, space, room for improvement, but that's the thing, is that now even psychologically, when the hill is coming up, there's a great improvement psychologically, because when it comes up, I don't think, oh my God, there's my death.
Confident.
I'm a lot more confident.
Yeah,
you know, and I think it's really helped me improve in that sense.
It's amazing. So, in parting words, what advice do you have for people, again, who are new to the sport, you know, want to be serious with their cycling, and maybe are even making the mistake of wanting to get an expensive, lighter carbon a bike, you know, and meanwhile they can, you know, make work on their body. So what do you advise
100%.
for those new guys?
Well, I think as cyclists we are different in the sense that we all have different goals. There's a cyclist that wants to, you know, dust off their bike every other weekend. And they're happy with that.
Yeah.
What do they call him? Recreational?
Yes.
Yeah, you don't even know. You don't even care.
And I think, and I was there at some point.
Yes.
And that's why I was cycling for a long time with that weight, and it was fine.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay. I think you shouldn't put yourself under pressure to say, listen, if I'm going to be a cyclist, I need to have this sort of weight, or I'm too big. You just got to look at, you know, what it is that you're trying to achieve. If you just want to go out for a nice ride every other weekend, then there's no need to lose the weight, I think. And I think, again, if you are somebody that wants to improve and do better in your cycling, and you recognize that your weight is holding you back, then, you know, focus on it and see how it helps you. I mean, you might not try intermittent fasting. I mean, to your question earlier, there's different techniques that our bodies respond differently. So I don't think that there's a blanket approach. So I think that people need to see what works for them. And most importantly, also consulting, because you also don't want to have medical issues where you're passing out on a ride and say, hey, Ino said I mustn't eat. I don't want to be held accountable for that. And so I think that I would say for cycling, weight loss is not really necessary. It is for me necessary if you want to really improve all the way to that elite category, because I can tell you now, very few, if any, of those riders in the elite bunch weigh around 85. And there's a reason why. And yeah, if somebody doesn't believe me, they can try race with the likes of Mark Pritzen with the weight of 86, and I think you probably do very well on the flats. Yes. But the race happens
on the hill.
Happens on the hill.
100%.
Okay.
Happens on the hill.
No, thank you so much. You know, I hope you guys have learned a lot from this man, and I hope you'll take all of his advice. And I think in closing, again, thank you so much for supporting our channel. And we'll catch you on the next one.